Do you realize that things are moving through us so quickly that in order to put them in order, it really seems totally impossible until you sit down and you write a book and you realize that everything that has taken place is exactly where it should have happened. The name of the book, Infinite Tuesday, an autobiographical riff. Hey, it's Arrow with Alan. From the L-Town Radio and Sound Factory Music Studios, we are unplugged and totally uncut with Michael Nesmith. You did the voice work on the audiobook, didn't you?
I do, and you know, it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. So I highly recommend it.
And when you do something like that, it takes you right to the moment, right?
Yes, it does. And you know what it does? It unpacks the moment where you think, oh, I didn't realize she was there, and that's where I met her. And wow, what a fortunate turn that was. And it's not just, you know, you think of that little moment where you swerve to avoid something or where you turn into the right place at the right time. And it becomes more of, wow, I live on a huge, infinite landscape that goes infinite in all directions of thought. And that's what the writing experience is like. It just unfolds in your head with no limits, and you see things that you never saw before. So it's a great trip for a writer. I think it's an even better trip if you lived it out. You know, if you were alive in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and through there, you'll see things that happen. You think, oh my gosh, Boz Scaggs did that, or oh my gosh, somebody else did that, and your kid will turn to you and say, Boz Scaggs? Who is Boz Scaggs? Oh, he's a good player.
Now, I've read your book, and I'm still waiting for it to be on Broadway with the mysticism of the Moody Blues and a hard edge like Zeppelin.
Well, I think, you know what? I'm not taking the book anywhere. The book has taken me. Once you write these things, they come out with a impetus and weight of their own, and they just push you along a certain line. And so what I've learned is to trust it and to say, look, you know, this is coming direct from the heart. You wrote this from the heart. This is not some just rehash of your life. You know, my life is as I lived it. It's not like that at all. This is a look at the times and a way that various things came about, all the way from the culture revolution of the 60s and all the stuff that was going on with the music and the politics and the war and the drugs and everything else from the 60s to today. And they're little tiny snippets and bits that go from me meeting Lennon and Hendrix in London in the 60s to it unfolding through the years that it's so strong. I realized I was swept up in a swirl of culture and music and people, and it's been in my sails ever since. So I'm really grateful. If that's, I guess, the number one thing. It's so happy to have something like this. This book was hard to write, but I had this wonderful editor at the publisher, and he was so smart and he was so insightful, and he would say to me, look, this is out of sequence. Put it back here because this is what informed the next thing. And I thought, I've been praying for an editor like this because, you know, my life is like your life. It's all jumbled up when you look back at it. And you think, if I'd done that, and if I'd done this, but none of that's true. We lived our life the way it lived us. Sorry.
Well,
the way it lived us.
Michael, this is Alan from the Texas Prairie Chicken Home Companion podcast. It's good to talk to you again. I'm hanging out with Arrow this morning.
Hey.
It's funny that you mentioned in snippets. One of the things that grabbed me about the book and rereading it again was the fact, and if you weren't paying attention to the book, if you were skimming it, you missed it. And it grabbed my heart because you talked about the concept of high lonesome, total loss, and it just kind of grabbed me. Talk to me about how you used the teachings of the yogis that you'd been studying at that time to bring you out of there, and how it all led to the creation of what I think is your signature piece, The Prison.
Well, that's a great thing to bring up, and thank you for doing it. The Prison was the first effort that I made along text and music at the same time. And I don't know that it was successful, but the people who have listened and used The Prison to kind of get an insight into my thinking at the time and the ideas that flowed in from the universe, give it a window into the times that it was written. What really informs that and has come through down the years is this sense of an infinite mind and an infinite life and a continuity after what you and I call death, and a moving forward where there is no loss, and that it's the great cure for high lonesome, because depression can't live in gratitude, and gratitude was what I feel and what I do feel for my life so far to this point. That's the way I say this is the first day of my life. I say it's the last day of my life so far.
I hear you. And the prison was completely ahead of its time. And the thing that grabbed me about it is that your mother, it allowed you, your mother listened to it, and it offered her some comfort as well, going through some of the troubles that she was going through at the time.
Yeah, she was an incredible role model, and I got a call from the New York Times the other day, said, we didn't write an obit when your mother died, and it was a terrible oversight, and can we do it now? And I said, of course. So it's now part of that series that they're doing, or I don't know, it's a series, a section that they're doing. And living alone with my mother and her living alone with me, I got to grow up in the light of her inspiration and watch her build that business from something on her kitchen floor to something that was worldwide. It controlled 97% of what was called the correction fluid business back when there were typewriters. People who don't know still use it to paint something out on their screen.
So true.
It's so funny that
the point was that it was a continuing idea, and Zuckerberg, eat your heart out, because nobody ever tackled the stuff that this woman tackled, and she didn't have a Harvard degree, she didn't have a degree of any kind. What she had was an inspired, beautiful, artistic thought that she turned towards everything she was doing, and I learned to do that. Keep what. It sounds so positivistic, and I don't mean for it to, but there's a way to parse these events of our lives which bring out the light and bring out the best parts of it, even though it's a tragedy. And you can watch this in these national tragedies like Katrina, and I can go over them all, and like the current situation in Washington. That's a tragedy if you think it is, and man, this is a rough ride right now.
Absolutely.
But for me, having somebody like my mother, when I was 9 and 15 and so forth, to steer me through those waters and to watch what she went through, to watch her live the high lonesome, and to explain to me what the high lonesome was and how to get rid of it. That was a brilliance from her that never left my life.
L-Town Radio is proudly sponsored by Guitar Wishes, the area's largest selection of guitars. Within a massive selection of guitars, amps, and accessories, find anything from rare and hard-to-find guitars to your favorite strings such as Ernie Ball and Elixir. Offering music lessons and guitar setups. We'll be your new one-stop shop. Visit onlineguitarwishes.com today. Guitar Wishes, where dreams with strings come true.